So I go to apply to be a police officer. I graduate, I have a degree in administration of justice. And this is where things get a little rocky, y'all. Things get a little shaky. And I go to apply for a certain agency. I won't say where. It's in California, but I won't put them on blast. But they didn't hire me, y'all. They did not hire me. I could not believe it. And it was for a reason that was extremely silly. And I was devastated. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I was disappointed. I was like, really, bro? I'm sure you guys think, well, what did you do? Okay. I can tell this because I said this. I told my department when I applied. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to The Human Side with Officer Jill. Thank you to those who have been stopping in and checking out your girl. So one of the reasons why I started this podcast and this YouTube is because sometimes what I've observed in my 16 years of experience as a police officer is that sometimes the public, the community that we serve, can seem to forget that we're just human beings. And if I'm honest, sometimes as officers, we can get so caught up in everything that we forget that we are just serving other human beings. So I want to present myself so you can see me as a human, as well as bring other officers so you can see them as human beings, and to engage in conversations with all of you so we can exchange our humanity with each other in hopes to get a better understanding and ultimately develop a better relationship between us. One of the ways that I want to kind of double down on the humanity of who I am, I want to tell you more about me. And one of the biggest questions that I get from people is, why did you become a police officer? Why? What the heck? What reason was it that led you to become a police officer and to pursue this crazy career? I love this question because I really, truly am living out my dream. The reason being is I fell in love with policing in the third grade. Yes, the third grade. And I remember it very specifically. I'm probably going to date myself a little bit here, but it's all good. There was this program called the DARE program. Some of you also may remember this. The DARE program was a national campaign that was centered around teaching kids and youth how to say no to drugs. And I believe it was pushed by the president's wife. I believe it was Barbara Bush. I don't know. Not sure. I think it was Barbara Bush, but I was in third grade. Why would I know that? All I knew is that officers would come to our school, their elementary school, and they would bring their police cars, their dogs. They would bring all the cool tools and things like that. They even had a mascot. I think it was Mr. Gruff. Y'all old folks, let me know in the comments. Was I right? Is it Mr. Gruff? For you younger folks who don't know what the DARE program is, this was the DARE program. It was actually really cool. It was an opportunity for us to experience law enforcement in a positive way and for them to teach us how to say no to drugs and to encourage us to say no to drugs. And so I remember this very specifically. It was, their old school assembly, right? The whole class comes out to the blacktop and I'm sitting with my class and all the rest of the students. And one of the deputies at the time, where I lived at the time, the sheriff's department actually patrolled my area. And so I remember one of the deputies asking, who wants to speak on the loudspeaker? And he opened up this question to the entire school and all the kids that were there on the blacktop at the assembly. And of course, my hand shot up just like everybody else, right? And for whatever reason, he chose me, y'all. He chose me. So he chose me. Oh, it was so cool. Everybody was all screaming and cheering. So I walk over to the police car and I remember it like it was yesterday, you guys. I remember him walking me over to the driver's side and they had the car parked kind of parallel to everyone with both doors open so everyone can kind of see through the car, all the kids. And I remember he took me over to the driver's seat and I remember sitting in the seat. And I'm in the third grade, right? So I'm short. So I remember when I sat back, all the way back, my feet were just dangling. I couldn't actually touch the floorboard. I remember just touching the steering wheel and looking around and seeing all the buttons and him showing me where the lights are. And this is the siren and all these cool things. And this is the shotgun. Don't touch that. That's very dangerous, right? The shotgun that's right in the middle. And he showed me how to actually talk on the loudspeaker. And I remember being so afraid because he told me, this thing right here is really important. Everyone in the city can hear you when you talk on this thing. And I remember being so intimidated, but also so excited. And he was like, do you want to talk? And I was like, no, no, no. And he's like, okay, I tell you what, I'm going to put it on the speaker so only the school can hear you. So he switches the actual microphone to the PA system. And I look at him like, what do I say? And he's like, just say your name. Say, hi, my name is Jill. And I remember grabbing the loudspeaker, looking at him like, are you sure? Are you sure you want me to do this? And I said, hi, my name is Jill. And oh my God, the kids are all screaming. In that moment, I fell in love with policing. I fell in love with that idea. I was obviously enamored by the car, the lights, the gun, the uniform, all those different things. Over time, obviously, as I got older and more mature, my reasons started to mature more with me, right? The idea, my desire to help people increased, and included with that, I started to learn more about our justice system and how, if we're honest, in the past, and some even say even currently, I don't know, that's a good conversation. That's a debate for whoever you're talking to. But our justice system wasn't exactly the same for people who look like me. It wasn't the same for Black and brown folks. And so my desire and my belief was that police officers were heroes. I still looked up to them. I still wanted to be a police officer. And I wanted to prove that, hey, guess what? Police officers are heroes, and I still want to pursue this career. And so that is one of the main reasons why I became a police officer. So I continue to pursue it. I vowed to be a good citizen. I vowed to be a good citizen. Now, granted, of course, I'm not perfect, but I purposely did certain things as I got older that did not put me in a position that could potentially disqualify me from becoming a police officer, from following my dream. I went to college. Now I'll say this. I went to college, and I'll be honest with y'all. School was not my favorite. School was not my favorite thing. I was an athlete. All I wanted to do was play sports. I knew that in order for me to play sports, I had to go to school. In addition to me becoming more successful in my profession of law enforcement, I knew that going to school would give me a better chance in doing that. So I went to school, got my degree, all that good stuff. And so I go to apply to be a police officer. I graduate. I have a degree in administration of justice. And this is where things get a little rocky, y'all. Things get a little shaky. And I go to apply. I go to apply for a certain agency. I won't say where. It's in California, but I won't put them on blast. But I applied for this agency, and they didn't hire me, y'all. They did not hire me. I could not believe it. And it was for a reason that was extremely silly. And at least I thought it was silly. And I was devastated. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I was disappointed. I was like, really, bro? Are you kidding me? I did all this work. I didn't drink. I didn't even curse. I didn't do none of these things. Okay, I'm sure you guys think, well, what did you do? Okay, I tried, literally. And that's okay. I can tell this because I said this. I told my department when I applied. I'm not lying. I was honest, and I told them that I did this. But I tried. Literally tried. Like, I wish I had a nickel to show you. Maybe a nickel or a dime-sized piece of a weed brownie in college. That's it, y'all. And just to give you clarification, back then, weed was not readily available like that. You couldn't just go down the street and buy a weed brownie. I remember some of my classmates, it was during homecoming or something, I don't know, and they attempted to make weed brownies, and it did not come out. It was all wet and nasty, and you could like see the leaves coming out. I'm like, dude, I don't think you guys did this right. I really don't think you guys did this right. Nevertheless, I literally was like, literally a little small piece. I'm telling you guys, just like enough to just go, ugh, that's nasty. That's a waste, right? Anywho, because I was an honest person, because I knew I didn't smoke weed, because I knew I didn't do drugs, I knew I didn't drink, I knew that I had purposely lived a model life that I wasn't tripping. I was like, I can tell you guys the truth. I'm not a liar. Like, You want someone like me who's honest, right? Probably sometimes even too honest. So they declined me. Y'all, I was like, what? Now what? What do I do now? This was plan A, B, and C. Okay, maybe just plan A and B. C was to become a teacher. Nevertheless, I continue to, put in for other agencies. I continue to put in for other agencies, and I was kind of striking out. One agency, I did well. I got through the whole process, the interview process, and just before they made the hiring and selection process, that city went on a hiring freeze. Yeah, I know you guys feel it. That's how I felt. I was like, really? Is this really happening to me right now? Am I not really going to get to experience my dream? And fast forward, I was believing. I'm a believer. I'm a woman of faith. And so I believe that God had put this desire in my heart to serve people. So I continue to push forward. And it wasn't until God presented a few people into my life that encouraged me. Someone I didn't know, and I share this story on another podcast, but at the time there was a lot of advertising for women officers. And I remember seeing a black female officer. And if I'm honest, I'm saying black female officer because for me growing up, I didn't see any black female officers. I cannot remember one black female officer that I have seen in uniform where I lived. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't exist other places. I'm sure they could have in other cities. But in the city that I grew up in, I did not witness a black female officer. So seeing a black female officer being advertised on a billboard, working for this very well-known police department in LA was kind of like, whoa, right? And it was also encouraging for me at a time where I was feeling really discouraged about my pursuing this career. So after seeing her, that gave me motivation and thinking that, you know what, if she can do it, if she can get there, if she can reach something that to me seemed like was unattainable, then I could do it as well. In addition to that, another great woman, another black woman came into my life that was introduced to me by a family friend who was currently on the job right now, who was currently on the job at the time. And I expressed her my challenges, and she said, hey, you know what, just take one more shot. If you need a little help, I can help walk you. That was itchy. She said, hey, you know what? Take one more shot. If you need a little help, I'll help kind of coach you through the process. I think you'd be good to work for our department. And she gave me her number. She said, think about it. Call me next week. I think we're testing next week. So sure enough, I spent a little time in prayer, y'all, and asking God, hey, I'm going to take one more shot. And I'm trusting that if this is for me here, then it's going to happen here. And I said, I'm going to take one more. And if not, I'm going to go with plan C. Plan C, which was to be a teacher or to go back to school. One of the two. So I'd probably go back to school and then become a teacher so I can make more money, a professor. But that's beside the point. So I go and I take the test and I pass it. And the rest is history. And I finished the academy, of course, and 16 years in now. And I can tell you that with everything that has happened, the George Floyd, all the different issues that we've had, I can tell you honestly, without a shadow of a doubt, that I am exactly where I need to be and exactly where I want to be. And I still love every part of my job. I love the fact that I get to help people. I love the fact that I can be an example to others, to other young girls and boys who are thinking about pursuing this career. There's no feeling, that quite matches the feeling of helping someone in their most difficult and dire point of their life. And as officers, we are presented and put in that situation several times. And, you can't, quote unquote, be that savior just because of the circumstances of that situation. But I can tell you that when it does happen, and that one time where you know that you saved someone's life, it makes all the drama, it makes all the criticism, all the challenges, all the sleepless nights, all the riots, all the, did I say constant criticism? All the constant criticism, well worth it. And I want to leave you guys with this one story, so you can see what I mean by that. I remember I was working a particular unit. I was on patrol, and it was a patrol type function. We're in uniform, driving the police car, and this particular unit, it was a kind of a, we call it a Z car, right? Which basically you're kind of doing multiple things, very specific things, and very specific problems that are occurring in the community that that need to be handled. It's just kind of a catch-all car, if you will, or catch-all unit. And we were given very specific tasks to deal with, very specific community issues that were being brought forward by the community to, our captain and things like that. So in this particular area where I was working in Los Angeles, we had a very high rate of homeless individuals or unhoused individuals. And although you want to make sure that you are treating the unhoused with dignity and respect, you also have to navigate and balance the rights of the people who live in the community. And you want them to have a high quality of life as well. And so our particular responsibility was to go to this particular area where there was a lot of unhoused folks. And at the time, the ordinance that we had in the city was that they were allowed to sleep between a certain time frame, meaning they were allowed to sleep on sidewalks between the times of 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. Right? So at 5 a.m., they had to get their tents, get their bedding, get everything up so people could utilize the sidewalks for ingress and egress. They're taking their kids to school, they're going to the store, whatever they're doing, walking their dog. And so our responsibility, you're probably thinking, this is the police responsibility. Yes, it is our responsibility to do what I'm about to tell you. But our responsibility was to actually go out there, 5 a.m., in this particular area where we were getting a lot of complaints of people still blocking the streets, people trying to blocking the sidewalks, people trying to take their kids to school, trying to walk their dog, all these different things. And our job was to actually wake the people up and tell them to pack up their things, and they have to come back. They can come back and set up their camp, set up their sleeping space at 9 p.m. That was our assignment in the morning. We started our shift at 4 a.m. We grab a quick coffee on the way, and we go down there and we wake the people up. My partner at the time, very good guy. We both were very aware of treating people with dignity. We understood that everyone that is unhoused, even though they're unhoused, they all have a story and they're all people. And so we would wake them up with dignity. We didn't just go there and get on the loudspeaker and scream, get up, wake up, it's time to get up, right? We would get up, walk over to their tent, hey guys, time to get up. It's 5 a.m. And over time, we started to get to know these people. We showed them respect and they showed us respect. Some of us will share their stories with us as we're waiting for them to literally pack up all their things. And I'd never forget this. It was a younger kid, maybe early 20s, and he was sleeping out in the street. And you could tell it was something about him that just didn't make sense. Like it just didn't add up as to why he was on the street so young. You can also see that he was struggling with an addiction, methamphetamine. We started to get his story more and more. He would open up and tell us what was going on, how he ended up here, homeless at such a young age. And he shared with us that he was originally from, I believe, Minnesota. I believe it was from Minnesota. And he came to LA because there was a tragic incident with his father. And I believe he was hiking or something like that. And there was an accident where, unfortunately, his father, I think he fell off the side of the hiking trail or the mountain or something, where he ended up unfortunately dying. And he essentially was blaming himself as if he should have been in a certain place or something that didn't go right, where he was essentially blaming himself for his father's death. And he thought that his whole family hated him. And so he ran away to LA to get away from all of that. And he shared that with us. And, I remember us encouraging him, like, hey, it sounds like that wasn't an accident. I don't think it was your fault. Have you talked to your family? And he's like, no, they don't want to talk to me. And over time, we start to encourage him, like, hey, you know what? if you ever want to use my phone to call your family, you're more than welcome, because I have a feeling that this was an accident and your family's probably missing you. So, thankfully, one day he took me up on that offer. And he said, I don't want to call, but can you at least call my sister and let her know that I'm okay? I said, absolutely. We call them up. We call the family, tell the sister what has been going on and how we made contact and how we have made contact with him. And she expressed exactly what we had been telling him, that, hey, they knew it was just an accident. It wasn't his fault. They missed him. They wanted to come home. So we relayed that message to him. And he was kind of thinking about it. He was like, oh, I don't know. Thankfully, at the time, due to the type of rapport and the relationships and the networking that we had with a local church in that area, they had a kind of program, and they told us a resource. They were a great resource to help us with some of our unhoused people who were struggling, but actually wanted help. And so what they would do is they told us, hey, if you ever come across some people who are unhoused and they are looking to kind of get back to where they came from, because a lot of people will migrate and travel to LA for obvious reasons. There's a lot of resources here and the weather's great. Let's just be honest, right? It's very easy to live on the street in LA. I don't want to say it's easy, but there are definitely some perks that are here that are not in other states. And so they said, hey, if you ever come across someone who lives in another state and they want to get back and they have positive resources and positive people that will receive them back in their hometown or their home state, we will actually pay for them to go back if they want. But they have to have someone who is willing to help them, and something, and it has to be it can't just be a vacation, right? To just go home and visit. Like, this is an actual move to get your life back together. And so as we learned more about this kid and began to engage even more with him, we both realized that, hey, this kid is a prime candidate for this resource. And so we presented it to him and we told him, hey, we can get you a ride back to your family, but they have to be willing to help you. He was obviously struggling with a drug addiction. And so we were able to talk to him more. And he said, hey, you know what? Yeah, I want to talk to my sister. We were able to facilitate that conversation. He talked to his sister, and just like we thought, they, said, hey, yeah, come home. We'll get you a job. You can stay here with us and all these different things. And over time, he started to warm up to that idea. And sure enough, one day he said, hey, yeah, I was able to talk to my sister again, and I want to go home. And we said, okay, if you're serious, meet us back here bright and early, 5:30 a.m. tomorrow. We'll pick you up. We'll take you to the church. They'll get you cleaned up. We'll get you a bus ticket. We'll drive you down to the bus station. We'll get you on the bus, get you like some lunch or something so you can have on your ride, and you'll be on your way. And that's what we did. We took him. We got him all cleaned up. Took him to the church. Got him cleaned up. Got him some new clothes, new shoes, all these different things. Got him like a little lunch bag. They give him a couple bucks just to have on the road. We drove him down to the bus station in LA. Helped him get his ticket situated. Showed him where the bus was. He got on the bus, and they drove off. Now the cool thing is, about three or 4 months later, somewhere around there, we receive an email from him. My partner runs in the station. He comes back out, and he said, guess what? Guess what I just got an email from? And I'm like, who? And he's like, and I can't remember the kid's name, but let's say his name was Brian. We got an email from Brian. And I was like, oh, the kid that we sent back on the bus, right? He's like, yeah. He was like, check this out. Guess what he said? And I was like, what's up? And he says, I just want to thank you and your partner for saving my life. I've been clean ever since I got back. I'm living with my sister and my brother-in-law. I'm working with my brother in his construction company. And I just want to thank you guys for saving my life. And I remember sitting in that car and having my partner tell me this. And I just kind of looked at him and I said, that's why. And he looked at me kind of confused. He was like, what do you mean that's why? And I was like, That's why I want to do this job. That's why we do this job. That is why we do this job. That is why we deal with all the things that we deal with. We deal with the trauma. We deal with the lack of sleep. We deal with the criticism. We deal with all the difficulties of this job for those moments just like that. And the feeling that I felt in that moment, it was unexplainable. And I remember my partner at the time, he was a little more seasoned, he was a little more of a veteran officer. I think he had probably about 20 years on the job at the time. And I was about maybe 4 or 5 years in, rather, really. And I remember him telling me that, in my experience, 20 years, you don't always get those type of opportunities. You don't always get these type of opportunities to have a successful outcome like this. And he said, remember this moment. Remember how you feel. Remember how good it feels to help someone in this way. Because you can use that feeling to push you past all the difficulties that this job is going to give you. Whenever you're doubting your ability, whenever you're doubting and people are talking bad about you and what you do, or trying to discourage you, or constantly criticizing what you're doing, remember this moment. It's going to be in these moments right here. You can go back and use that as strength and resilience to keep pushing. And I'll never forget that. And I have used that feeling. I have gone back to that thought and revisited that thought and that feeling to help me push past any and all difficulties that I have experienced here on this job. And I want to take a moment to the officers who are watching this. Maybe you've experienced something similar. And I know right now things can be challenging. We might be making a turn here on the corner to kind of hopefully get some positive stuff happening for law enforcement. But try to look back. There has to be at least one moment that has solidified and has confirmed the reason why you joined this job. And use that feeling to help you push forward. If you are thinking of becoming an officer, I cannot stress to you enough that this is one of the best jobs in the world, despite what anyone says. Now, I will say it does depend on what agency you work for. Send me a message and I'll tell you which one I work for. But honestly, in all truth, is the honor and the ability that you have, the opportunities that you have to have a positive impact on other people's lives. It's unmatched. And I want to encourage you, if you're looking for a career to get into, if you're debating whether you're going to pursue this career, stop debating, put in the application, shoot your shot. And I'm pretty sure if you're cut out for this job, you're going to love every bit of it. All right, you guys. So I just wanted to share a little bit about myself so you know who is on the other side of this camera. And I am looking forward to having more human conversations and expressing more of my human side, as well as experiencing the human side of you all. I want to encourage you. Have you ever wanted to have a conversation with an active law enforcement officer? If so, send your girl an email. The contact information is in the comments of this video. I would love to talk to you about anything and all things. As long as we have a respectful conversation, I truly believe that any conversation can be had. And I would love to talk to you here on the human side. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe, share it, all that good stuff. And I'm going to leave you guys with this reminder that I always leave you with. If you show me your human side, I'll show you mine. All right, y'all. Peace.